Welcome back to the Michigan Sports Media Network podcast. And today we are doing something a little bit special, a little bit different. It is officially draft week. And I know for so many of you like me, draft week is like fucking Christmas, boys. Like we get to see the shiny new toy that our team's going to bring in for the next 5 years or more or less, depending on what round they get picked in, I guess. But with that being said, today we are doing a mock draft, our mock draft 1.0 on the show. Next week we will have another mock draft that might be a little bit more realistic than this one, but this one was for fun. So we said, fuck it, let's do some things we don't normally do or do some things we don't normally see. So without further ado, the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and I am the GM of the Tennessee Titans in this mock draft. Now, my gut, my heart tells me Abdul Carter, right? I think he's the best player in the draft. I think he's a difference maker on the defensive line. However, it's an obvious pick here. I don't want to get too crazy in this mock and do some things that just won't happen in real life. So we're going to go Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. Now, I don't love him as a prospect necessarily, but I don't hate him. I like him enough that I could see the Titans taking him or myself taking him if I were the Titans GM. So with that being said, the Browns, you are now on the clock.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy draft week. As the GM of the Browns for this scenario, as Jace just said, I will be taking the best player in the draft in Abdul Carter. I think he is, simply put, the best player in this draft. You guys just, or I should say we, just re-signed Myles Garrett to a massive contract. When his contract's up, Carter's rookie contract will be up. It'll be a nice smooth transition from that point. And for the next 4 to 5 years, you have a killer defensive end combination.
Yeah, very true, very true. Now, the Giants, you are on the clock.
Alrighty, with the third pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New York Football Giants take Travis Hunter, cornerback wide receiver, Colorado University. This is where we dent. No, Travis Hunter, in my opinion, is the best player in the draft, but hey, who am I? I think he's definitely going to be a heck of a compliment next to Malik Neighbors. I think with Russell Wilson, I think the Giants could have something there, and I still see him being a two-way player. I see him also playing not a ton of stats, but I can see him playing in a nickel or a dime and playing a pretty pivotal role in that. So we'll see how it goes, but I think if he lives up to the way he was in college, he's going to own New York. So,
yeah, and that's very good points there, Brad. Now the Patriots are on the clock, and I am going to take Will Campbell, the offensive tackle out of LSU. Now, Armand Membaugh might be my favorite tackle in the draft, but I just feel with where the Patriots are, Will Campbell has been the number one offensive lineman pretty much throughout this process. So it just feels like if they're going to go O-line here, it would be Campbell. I could see Membaugh, though. I don't think it would be crazy. But with that being said, the Jaguars are now on the clock.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have learned from their mistakes of not drafting Michigan or D lineman, and they will be taking Mason Graham here to just add a nice blue chip player overall on that defensive line, and he is going to take off quite a bit of pressure off Allen there on the outside. So I'm going to go Mason Graham from D tackle Michigan.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I feel, we said this before the podcast, but this feels like the most locked pick of this entire draft. Like, it seems like every single mock draft has Mason Graham going to the Jaguars. It doesn't even matter who goes before or after him. It's always Mason Graham to the Jags. So, with that being said, the Raiders, you are on the clock.
alrighty, with the Raiders, I think Pete Carroll and Tom Brady is going to go with Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State. Saw some film on him in his pro day. Good God. Some knocks on. I mean, we see what he does. I mean, he was best running back in the country last year. Some knocks on him though is they say he's not the fastest back. They say he likes to bounce it outside too much. I don't think that's going to happen personally. I think they've got um, I think Carroll's got his Marshawn Lynch 2.0. And, you pair him with Geno Smith, you got Brock Bowers. They might go receiver, very early in the second and third rounds. And they got the makings of a pretty darn good offense heading down there in Vegas.
Yeah, definitely cannot disagree with anything that you just said. And I feel like similar to the Mason Graham pick, Ashton Gianti to the Raiders or the Bears seems like that's pretty much the only two teams that he's been going to. So, and it definitely seems like lately Gianti to the Raiders has been gaining more and more steam. With that being said, the Jets are now on the clock. Let's see. I am going to go with my number one offensive lineman personally, Armand Membao. He's just the best. I think he's got the best traits physically, athletically, literally all across the board. He is a little bit more raw, though, than some of the other guys like, Will Campbell that got drafted before him. But I do think the Jets strike gold at their new tackle position, which they have not had a good one since fucking DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Throwback to Mr. DeBrickashaw there. Always one of my favorite all-time names in the NFL. But with that being said, the Carolina Panthers are now on the clock.
With the eighth pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers will take, and I'm probably going to destroy this name, but Territoria McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. They desperately need a wide receiver one over there, and a two for that matter of fact, to give their young franchise quarterback Bryce Young a actual target instead of a 30-year-old. I almost said Harrison Smith. We're on former Viking. I am spacing on that guy's name right now.
Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen, thank you. I'm just like, I can picture his face. Always happens to be about a yard behind the ref crying for a flag, but get off that topic. And yeah, we'll give Bryce Young a nice shiny weapon for the future.
Nice, I like that. Saints are now on the clock.
Yeah, I think the Saints here might raise some eyebrows, but I think the Saints, they've got so many needs. I mean, they've got corner, they've got interior linemen. Wouldn't be surprised if they take Hall of Fame Colorado University quarterback Shadur Sanders. But I think they're going to go edge here. I think they're going to go Jalen Walker. They've got the one guy, and his name escapes me right now. He's like 90 years old. He shows up on the Fox pregame when he's on the bye week. I can't think of him right now. But
Jordan.
There you go. Thank you. I mean, that guy's older than me, for Christ's sake. I'm in my 50s. So, anyways, I like Walker here. I think they do too. He drops the hips. He gets he gets quick. Sets the edge very well. Might set the edge outside of Carter. Sets the edge better than anybody, in my opinion, in the draft. And he also, he's great. He pushes the run inside. So, like I said, might be an eyebrow raiser, but I think that's a good fit for the Saints.
Yeah, I personally really like that pick. He's definitely not the most productive player, but we've talked about that, before. This draft is full of non-productive elite athlete or athletic trait edge rushers. So, and I really like the fact that he showed some versatility at Georgia as well. And like you said, the Saints, they need fucking everything. So they'll just take the best player. And then the Bears are now on the clock. And this one, similar to the last pick, might surprise some people, okay? I know most people have them taking Tyler Warren or, Ashton Gianti, but he's not there in this mock. I am going to go a little bit out of the box here, and I'm going to take Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M. Now, the reason I take him is because, I know they just signed Dayo Odeyingbo to a 3-year deal, I think, but he is, he wasn't the most productive player throughout his career. He's had one good season. Shamar Stewart is 6'6", 290, and ran a 4.5. I'm sorry, but you kind of have to take that guy. He was easily the best combine performance this season and for a while, especially from a defensive lineman. And, like we said, he's not the most productive player on earth by any means. He's actually the least productive player out of all the non-productive edge rushers we've talked about so far. But I do think he has the most traits out of all of them. So I also think he offers the most versatility, as he is 290 pounds, but he can play off the edge. So the Bears, they get a guy to pair with Montez Sweat and kind of help that defensive line out as they are building from the trenches out, as we've seen in free agency. Now, with that being said, the 49ers are now on the clock.
49ers fans, don't kill me because I'm going to continue the streak of I don't quite want to say head scratching picks because they're good players. I personally, as the GM of the 49ers in this situation, like to give a surplus of talent, especially at premium positions like edge rushers. So with this 11th pick, I'm going to take Mykal Williams for the edge from Georgia because I think pairing him with Bosa is just going to be borderline unstoppable and give you, no pun intended, an edge on the competition and just give a lot of teams beyond headaches and frustration, and you're going to have to get the ball out within 3, 4, not less than that, probably 2, 3 seconds, because one of these two, between Bosa or Mykal Williams, will be on your quarterback quickly.
Yeah, and like you said, that is definitely a surprising pick, but we've seen crazier things happen. I personally would have picked an offensive tackle, but like you said before, there's more than one round in these drafts, so they could find that out as the draft goes. But with that being said, the Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock.
All right, Jerry's World. All right, not Jerry World. It's Jerry's World. At least he thinks it fucking is. You know what? Before I start, the Cowboys, they got a ton of effing needs, man. They really do. I mean, that you could go anywhere with these guys right now. So I think they keep slipping further and further down year by year. Another reboot, at least I think. But hey, what do they need? What I think they do is I think they go the. Some think he is the best corner. I do. It's hard to say, but I think he is. I'm going to go Will Johnson, quarterback from University of Michigan. I think he pairs well with Trayvon Diggs. I was tempted there to go Jahad Campbell because it's all about stopping Barkley with Philly. But I'm going to go with the corner here with Will Johnson.
Yeah, and the last few, we've been doing a good job at throwing some stuff we don't normally see in these mocks because, I will say I think the Cowboys have a surplus at corner now with Deron Bland being a I think it was an All-Pro last season or the season before. Trayvon Diggs is coming off of an injury though, and he has a huge contract. So making this pick, I do believe he is the best player on the board right now. So I don't hate it. They could go ahead and get rid of one of those other guys. I would personally say Diggs just because he had one really good season where he was really productive and then kind of fell off a little bit. He gets burnt quite a bit, so I do think Bland is the one they'd rather keep. But with that being said, the Miami Dolphins are now on the clock, and I think we all kind of know their need at this point. Their offensive line is atrocious. The one thing is, though, I think I'm going to surprise some people with who I end up going and picking. So most people would say Kelvin Banks is the obvious pick here. I'm going to go Josh Simmons because the reason is I feel like Josh Simmons is the best pure left tackle in this draft period, but he tore his ACL. So he's falling down the board a little bit, but I do think he's a better player than Kelvin Banks is. I do really like Kelvin Banks, but I think Miami would be happy getting a player of Simmons' caliber, even with the injury. But with that being said, the Colts are now on the clock.
All right, Colts Nation, or whatever the hell you guys call yourselves. In this league, it is a quarterback-driven league. You tried with AR, and it just hasn't worked out. So although I have not seen anyone or any reports or anything linking him to him, as the general manager, I will be taking the Colorado Hall of Fame quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. You have to have a quarterback in this league, and he's the best one available according to reports. I'll just leave it at that
All
because I
right.
don't want to go too far-fetched. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull an ESPN, and we're just going to go ahead and go to the next pick. Atlanta Falcons, you are on the clock.
Uh, hey, well, I, yeah, sure, why not? Uh, um, with the with the pick here with the Falcons again, it's not they can go. They got a lot of needs to fill. It's where do they want to go with them? I think they could use a guy that's a bit of a hybrid. Okay, uh, so I think they're going to go Jihad Campbell. He came in. He came into Alabama starting off as an edge. All right, then he kind of flipped over. So the hybrid thing a little bit. I think he fits well in the scheme that the Falcons are trying to do defensively. So he's not a poor man's, and he's definitely not Will Anderson from the Texans, but he's right in there a little bit. So I think the Falcons are basically getting a good football player. So that's my pick.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I think Campbell is one of my favorite players in this draft period. So I definitely love the fit there, especially since they have big needs on the defensive side of the ball. With that being said, the Cardinals are now on the clock, and man, I was contemplating trying to trade up earlier, and I am so glad I didn't, guys, because I want Walter Nolan. Okay, I was thinking Walter Nolan or Mike Green or Jihad Campbell, right? And that I figured I'm only 2 picks away, right? One of those guys will fall to me. Well, two of them did. Thank you, Indianapolis. I appreciate. I'm sending you a gift basket in the mail. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and take Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Now, I know a lot of people might be like, why would you take him over Mike Green? Well, it's simple, okay? I believe, okay, my philosophy is the best way to get to a quarterback is on the interior, right? I know we love edge rushers. Edge rushers are the main guys that get all the sacks. They get all because that's just how the game works. However, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they'll both tell you the 2 games that they had the worst game in their career was when they had the best interior defensive line across from them in their career. So, with that being said, I think Walter Nolan is the best. He's the best explosive defensive tackle in this draft, I believe. I think he's got the most traits to be a Jalen Carter type of player. I think he's the closest in this draft to that kind of player on the interior defensive line. So I just feel like it makes the most sense. That's where they have the biggest need. I do love Mike Green, but I think with them just giving a bunch of money to Josh Sweat, and they also re-signed Baron Browning, they're old on the interior D-line, and they have not had good interior D-linemen for a long time. So Walter Nolan is the pick, and now the Bengals are on the clock.
Well, I know I probably, in a lot of people's minds, did not do the Colts any favors, but I promise the Bengals fans I did you a massive favor. You're welcome. I'm taking Calvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas. You just paid your receivers $70 million between Higgins and Chase per season. You got Burrow making 55 million a season. So combined between Higgins, Chase, and Burrow, you have $125 million in 3 players, all on offense. You've got to give them some time to run their routes and protect your quarterback so he can find them. So I'm going with Banks here for the simple fact you just got to protect your investments.
Yeah, and that's a great pick, I think. I think that is like the most obvious pick we've had throughout this draft so far, just because it's like it's perfect for them. It's not similar to Penei Sewell falling to us, but I'll say it's close. I will also say, I guarantee you the Bengals right now are wishing they took Sewell. And not just because he's an O-lineman, but because they paid T. Higgins more fucking money. Like, this shit's crazy, man. The best right tackle in football got paid. I think actually he makes $1 million more than T. Higgins. So Penei Sewell got $1 million more than a fucking wide receiver too. Just saying. So with that being said, the Seattle Seahawks are now on the clock.
Alrighty. Seattle's always they're always around the 10-6, 11-5. 10-7, 11-6 area there. So when I look at them though, and then I go, well, Jesus Christ, look at these needs they got. So I'm gonna go with Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. Saw him in the Senior Bowl. The practice is the Senior Bowl. Saw him in the Senior Bowl. This guy's got a mean streak in him. He just plays angry. He can play, and that's the thing too. He can play anywhere up and down the line. His versatility, I think, is key here. Personally, just my opinion, I thought he's the best interior offensive lineman out there. You can plug him at tackle in a pinch. I mean, he's going to be a damn good guard. I mean, you're going to see sometimes he pops up as an all-pro guard. And also he's got a quick first step. He's likes to, he gets under the pads, likes to punch up. He's got a good base. He's got a low center of gravity, kind of a big butt kind of guy. So that's what I like for Seattle.
Yeah, and I definitely like that pick as well. Like you said, the Senior Bowl, I think he really, really made himself some money this year. So Gray Zabel to the Seahawks at 18 makes a lot of sense. With that being said, the Buccaneers are now on the clock, and this one was pretty easy for me. I am going to take Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall. Like I said before, I almost took him at 16 with the Cardinals. So it's obvious I feel he is a very good player. However, I also feel the Bucs' number one need is edge rushers. So they go ahead and get the best edge rusher available. And I think this is a little bit of a steal. I see Mike Green as a top 15 talent in this draft. But with the way the board fell, the Buccaneers got him. So they are running to the podium if this happens. But with that being said, the Denver Broncos are now on the clock.
With the 20th pick, I have the Broncos taking Matthew Golden, receiver from Texas. They need to give Bo Nix a legitimate number one receiver, much like the Panthers had to get a receiver for Young. Their receivers are starting to get up there in age. Sutton's not as young as obviously he used to be, who is, but Matthew Golden is just too good to pass up here in this spot, in my opinion. They need a playmaker on offense, and this is exactly that. A nice playmaker with, I don't want to say insane speed, but a solid amount of speed that will make people take notice.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely absolutely love this pick. Like you said before, he's got a lot of speed. He ran a 4.29, I believe. And he is just like the perfect fit in Denver, I believe. We see a lot of mock drafts where they take a tight end or a running back, and I just feel tight end, they don't need it because they got Evan Ingram. And then running back, this is such a deep running back class. I personally, if his name is not Ashton Genty, I am not even thinking about him in the first round at all, period. It's such a good running back class. You can get a guy like Quinshon Judkins probably in the late second round. So just think about that. But I'm really glad that you brought up Courtland Sutton's age, because a lot of people aren't thinking about that. He's 30 years old, guys. I know he's had, a couple years off because of injuries and stuff, so it might not register in a lot of people's heads, but he's getting up there in age and in contract. So Marvin Mims is a pretty good player as well, but he's just not consistent enough. So I really, really like that pick from Denver. Now the Steelers are on the clock, and I suspect something fun here. If you're watching this, it's because you love sports. If you love sports, why not show that love with some new gear, like the two jerseys behind me? Fanatics has a lot of stuff on sale right now, and if you go down in the description, click the link of whatever team that you want, it'll take you to the Fanatics page, buy some stuff, and we get a small portion. It'll help us out, and you'll get some discounts on some good gear.
Well, might be fun, might not, but so the Steelers are probably the Steelers are probably hoping that they play the Colts sometime within the next year or two, because Colts flat out stole their guy, because that guy was going to be Shadur Sanders, I think, without a doubt. They're going to think about Jackson Dart here, what I would think they could. But I think they're seeing Dart a lot like Kenny Pickett, and I think they still got PTSD from that, to be honest with you. So, hey, Najee Harris is gone. I'm going to go with a Marion Hampton from North Carolina. I know we just said, there's some good backs in the second, third, and fourth round. Let's think about this too. And he's on a different planet, but, people raise their eyebrows about our own Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Hampton is a blend of the speed and the power, runs outside, runs inside. Just remember now, you've got Mason Rudolph, all right, under center for you. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of handed off. All right, so a durable back like Hampton, is going to be good for them. Then you can go to play action with DK Metcalf, because DK Metcalf's going to want the ball, and it's going to be tough for Rudolph to get him. Now, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. I do. But also, but until he's there, you've got Mason Rudolph. So I like the pick there. I'm going with Hampton.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to be the fun thing you did. I thought you were going to go quarterback. So, it is fun, though. It was fun. So, Omarion Hampton to Pittsburgh, and I don't know if that's even ever been mocked. I don't know if I've ever seen a mock with that. So, another change up from what we normally see. So, a lot of fun with that. Now, the Chargers are now on the clock, and you know what, guys? I think Colston Loveland would just look great in that Chargers uniform. Obviously, there's the Michigan ties here. But not only that, I mean, let's be real right now. The fucking Chargers wide receivers are not great. Ladd McConkey is a pretty good player, don't get me wrong. Quentin Johnston just never lived up to it. Josh Palmer left for Buffalo. So just think about that. They don't really have many good receivers or a tight end. So I think they signed, oh shit, what's his name? Conklin. They signed Tyler Conklin to a deal, which I do like him. However, I think he's more of a tight end too, especially in the type of offense they run. So Colston Loveland is going to be the Travis Kelce to Justin Herbert's Patrick Mahomes, I believe, if this happened. And, like I said, the Jim Harbaugh-Michigan connection almost makes this too good to be true. But now the Packers are now on the clock.
As much as I would love to give them a punter or a kicker here, just because fuck the Packers, I will have them take Malachi Starks. They need safety help. He is a tremendous talent at safety. I know they were looking at Brian Branch a couple years ago in a famous Tom Grassi clip, which brings my heart joy whenever I watch it. But they'll correct their mistake. They'll finally get their guy here. He's do it all. He's just a football player. Like cover, he can blitz on obviously special plays. You don't blitz your safety all the time, but he's capable of it. He just finds the ball, and you'll hear his name a lot on Sundays. The play could be to the other side. He'll find a way to get in on the tackle. So Green Bay will go with Malachi Starks with this pick.
Yeah, and honestly, that might be my favorite pick of this whole draft so far. I mean, I personally think Malachi Starks is a top 10 talent in this draft, but he unfortunately plays a position that isn't looked at that same premium. And I think the Packers just fucking stole. They didn't just steal. They just had a fucking heist, bro. Like, that is a nasty pick for them. So Malachi Starks at pick 23 is not something I think anyone has seen in any mocks. And I don't know if he's even fallen out of the top 20 in any mocks I've seen. So pretty wild, but the Packers got a great player. But now the Vikings are on the clock.
All right. You know what's ironic about this is when I was doing my homework and everything, I actually had Malachi Starks going to the Colts. So, I mean, James, you're on the right wavelength. I just, I think that I agree with you on Starks. I think he's definitely a top 10 player. But, to the Vikings, I think the Vikings wanted to go corner here. But I think with the two best corners off the board, they look to go somewhere else. They could have went defensive line, but I think they're going to address the offensive line even more. If you remember, it was just, I think late in the year, Darnold was running for his life, and they were getting the pass rush from up the middle. I mean, even the Lions and I think the Rams really exploited the fact that that inside part of the line was really having some trouble. So I think they're going to go Ian Booker, arguably the best interior lineman in this draft. I know I just said was Zabel, but Ian Booker's right there, real close. But so I think they go with him, and I think they're happy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Tyler Booker is definitely one of the best interior offensive linemen
Or
in this
Tyler
draft.
Booker, Tyler
period.
Booker. Sorry, Tyler Booker.
But yeah, he would be a great pick for the Vikings. I do believe that he is probably the best run blocker, period, in this draft. He is an absolute mauler in the run game, so they are going to be able to run it down people's throats next year with, they just added a couple free agent offensive linemen, and they traded for Jordan Mason, the running back from San Francisco. So I really like that pick. Now the Texans are on the clock, and we are also going to go offensive line. And I think that's obvious. I mean, I feel like if the Texans go anywhere else in the first round, it'll be because every offensive line worth a shit is gone. I could see them totally reaching. I don't think this is a reach, however. Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, he is personally one of my favorite offensive linemen in this whole draft, okay? Mainly because of his versatility. Like, he's a guard that played left tackle for a fucking national championship team because his absolute beast of a teammate got hurt out for the season, and he stepped in and played really well. So I really like him, and I think the Texans do too. And I think this is an obvious pick because they need a tackle, they need a guard. He can do both. I mean, I don't think you're gonna, draft him to be your left tackle for the rest of his career, but he could play it in a pinch. But I do think he is a guard at the next level. So Donovan Jackson to the Texans, and now the Rams are on the clock.
Yeah, this one was a tough pick for me. There was a couple names that I was bouncing between, but I'm gonna go with Jody Barron, cornerback from Texas. I feel like he is just the best player overall on the board, and the Rams do need help at corner, so it's to make a long story short, just a match made in heaven. They get a playmaker on the outside there, and someone to cover while Jared Verse and Frisk can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, and I really like this pick too, man. You're getting so lucky with the DBs being here late. Malachi Starks, absolute dog. Jade Barron, absolute dog. Most people think excuse me. Most people think Barron will be picked in the top 15 or 20, but he didn't this time, and the Rams are getting richer for it. They get a great player there. So now the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock.
Yeah, I think the Ravens play or their pick is going to be true to their form as far as defense goes, as far as big dudes up front. And honestly, I think I've seen a lot of things. I think the Harbaugh brothers speak. Obviously, they speak, and I think John talks to Jim, and he says, "Hey, what do you think about Grant?" And Jim's like, "Hey, probably take him, man. Take him if he's there." I mean, with Grant, he's raw. There's no doubt about it. But he's going to get coached up in Baltimore. We all know that. But he's raw. But this is a 320-pound guy whose best days are in front of him. Okay, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw one play this year where he just chased a running back down from about 20 to 25 yards. So, I mean, this is a guy that's 325 or 320 pounds. So, raw, perhaps. Will he be a rotational guy at first? Maybe, but I see this guy with so much upside for a pick like that for the Ravens. I just think it's kind of a perfect fit.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything you said, man. Kenneth Grant is one of my favorite players in this draft. He has been since last year, actually. Some of the plays I've seen him make, me and James, I remember we mentioned this before, but the couple plays he makes where he runs down the running back is it's mind-blowing. To see that dude 330 flying down the field, dude, like one of my absolute favorites. So, you're right. He might be a rotational player at first, but that's totally fine. You get a 6'4", 6'5", 330-pound rotational defensive tackle who is going to be a beast when he starts playing every snap. So I love the pick, and I love the fit. Now, Our Detroit Lions are on the clock, and I am lucky enough that I get them. I get to make the pick. I am Brad Holmes for the day. So I am going to take Tyler Warren. No, I'm playing. I am going to take, let's see. James Pierce is very enticing. I'm going to have to go Donovan Iziraku. I know I butchered that name, but we're just going to call him Easy from now on. I do really like James Pierce. Don't get me wrong. He is probably better, okay, as a prospect. However, the off-field stuff really concerns me. He is an elite athlete, elite of the elite, but I don't know, man. Some of that stuff just worries me, and I unfortunately did not get to have him in a meeting, sit down, shake his hand, and look him in the eye, and understand who he is as a person. So we're going to go easy here because I do feel like he's the best edge rusher available, not named James Pierce. And even then you can make an argument that he's better than Pierce because, I mean, he had 16 and a half sacks last year, folks. Let's not pretend like Donovan is just some guy off the street, right? I had a lot of people get mad at me because I picked him in my mock draft, but I just think it makes a lot of sense. He's a beast, man. He's a pass rush specialist for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. We all know that. But I do think he has the length and the strength to be able to play the run pretty well at the second level, or at the next level, not at the second level. But I just feel he is the perfect player opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. The only real knock I have on him is he's a little undersized. I think he's 6'2", 240. So you would like a little bit bigger guy there. However, his presence off the edge and his ability to get home, he has a pretty deep bag. I do feel pretty good about, and I think his size won't really be a detriment at the next level, at least not too much. He's not going to be a guy, that you're only playing on third down, basically is what I mean. Like, you're not going to hope, you're not going to put him up against, a pulling guard or anything like that, or at least you'd hope not. But he can get the job done, I think. So Donovan, easy from Boston College to the Lions with the 28th pick. What do you guys think? Since this is a Lions podcast.
I'll let Brad
Oh,
take it.
sorry. That was something was happening underneath the desk here. Sorry. Enough said.
Love it.
I don't mind it. I don't like it as much as Brad does, but I don't mind it for sure. He is a name I've actually seen knocked to us here and there. Not a not like the most common one, but I have seen it. I don't know too much about him. Well, I've been scouting other edge rushers, and so that size, though, just listening to that does worry me a little bit. But in Brad Holmes, I trust. If he's the pick, let's go. And like I said, I have seen it mocked, so it's not a completely foreign idea or anything like that. I personally would prefer Derek Harmon just because of although he's a D tackle and we need more D end help than D tackle help. I just feel like interior pressure, as you mentioned before, is quite important. And with McNeil out to start the season, and once he comes back, having two guys that can kind of push that pocket, I like, in my opinion, that position better, or that kind of situation better. I would have preferred edge if like a Mike Green was still here, but obviously they're not. So that's just my 2 cents on with how the board fell.
Yeah, and those are totally valid points, and I totally get that. Really, my thought process was this is such a deep class at the defensive tackle position that I just felt I should reach a little bit on an edge because that's a bigger need, and then we can get somebody like one of my favorite players in the entire draft, Jamari Caldwell, in the third round. I think if we got that, like, good luck. Good luck to opposing O-lines because Jamari Caldwell is a beast. I think he's similar to Kenneth Grant's size. I think he's 6'3", 330, so maybe even a little thicker. And I do think he's got a really, really great first step for his size too. So that would be one of my biggest my biggest wants in the third round. So maybe even I don't know about the second round. I might trade up in the third round for him though. But with that being said, the Washington Commanders are now on the clock.
All right. With the Washington Commanders on the clock at 29, I will take Derek Harmon, the guy I just mentioned. They lost out on Allen. Well, I shouldn't say lost out. They got rid of Allen, his age, contract, yada, yada, yada. They need a new D tackle. And for all the reasons that I just listed for why I would want him as a Lion, I will take him as a Commander to just put him on that line and let him do his thing.
Yeah, very good points. And like you said, they just lost two pretty good defensive tackles there, so they get to kind of plug and play there. And now they are, I don't know, man. I know we've talked about it before, but the fucking Commanders are scary. If they get Derek Harmon, they're a little bit more scary, and I don't like that. So, really good pick there. Now the Bills are on the clock.
Okay. With the Bills, I look up and down that roster, and I'm just saying to myself, everybody needs picks. Don't get me wrong, but they don't have really any real needs. I think that when it comes to the playoff time, I just think that the Chiefs are so far in their head. There's something about it where they just can't beat them. So, they've lost Amari Cooper's still out there, I believe, but they don't want him. He's not with them anymore. Um, he's not with them anymore, right? I just want to make sure.
I don't think
But
so.
no, he's not. He's not. He's a free agent. Hello, Lions.
Wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, he's still a free agent right now.
Hello, Lions. Anyways, I don't want to get off track, but hey, when in doubt, you don't have a lot of needs. Take the MVP. Give him another weapon. All right, I can't believe this guy is still there because I had him personally as the number one. Well, outside of Travis Hunter, I'm sorry. Number 2 wide receiver in the draft. I thought he was going to go top 10. All right, and we're going to go with Luther Burden III, wide receiver, Missouri.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid pick. I feel like you said, Josh Allen definitely needs some more help there. Hopefully they can get a corner in the second round because if they could get somebody like Maxwell Hairston or oh shit, I'm blanking on his name, kid from FSU, or Siobhan Revel. There's a bunch of different corners they could get in the second round. I will say after the second round, it seems that corners kind of falter a little bit in terms of talent. So hopefully for them they can snag one. But I do like the Burden pick. I think he adds something to that offense that they just don't have right now. And now they have a pretty good trio. They went from terrible wide receivers last year to they have a solid trio with Burden, Shakir, and Palmer. So and Keon Coleman as well. So pretty solid receiving core there. Now the Chiefs are on the clock, and I know this guy. He looks real good. Tyler Warren looks real enticing, and I thought about it. I really did for a long time, for a total of a half a second. But I just feel like Tyler Warren is a great player. Don't get me wrong, and they could draft him to be their Travis Kelce replacement. However, I personally don't think the Chiefs are a team that scheme is built around the tight end because they want it to be. I think they're a team that scheme is built around the tight end because they have a great one, right? I think once Kelsey's gone, they're going to go back to a more wide receiver heavy passing game. And just look at what Andy Reid did in Philadelphia, right? I don't remember the Eagles really having a, elite tight end in those days. So it was a little bit more about the run game and wide receivers there. So I am going to go defense, and I'm going to go Nick Emanwari from South Carolina, the safety. I just feel the Chiefs need more help on defense pretty much all over the place, and I do think Emanwari is the best player available on the board. He's an absolute beast athlete. He can do it all. He can play all over the defense. We actually had someone recently bring up the fact the Lions might want to take him at 28, which I think is crazy personally, but that just tells you how good of a player he is when you have a team fans of the team like the Lions wanting him, even though we already have Joseph and Branch. So Nick Emanwari at 31 to the Chiefs. And to wrap this bad boy up, our first ever mock draft on the show. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock.
And the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles will somehow, some way, once again luck into a player falling because of off the field issues. I was tempted to take Tyler Warren just because he is considered one of the more top talents in the draft. However, they just lost Josh Sweat to the Cardinals in free agency, so I am going to go James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee. He's got the off the field issues, but much like Jalen Carter or insert guy's name here, there's been several that the Philadelphia Eagles just, I don't want to say don't care about, but do their research on, whatever. They pull the trigger anyways, and a pretty good talent falls to 32 for the Super Bowl champion. He'll line up next to Jalen Carter and the other host of Nolan Smith and the other host of first-round D lineman picks that they have taken.
Yeah, and I personally really love this pick. I think, I'm glad you brought up Nolan Smith because this pick reminds me of another defensive lineman or another edge rusher getting drafted by the Eagles at the end of the first round, whose last name ends in Junior. Just, 2 years ago, they drafted Nolan Smith at the end of the first round, and most people saw him as a top 15, top 20 pick, similar to James Pierce. It's like almost the same exact thing. So, really like the pick, and like you said, they get to replace Josh Sweat, which I personally hate as a Lions fan. I would hate for this to happen. I do think Tyler Warren also would be a good pick here too because they are looking to trade Dallas Goedert potentially, but it's hard to pass up on a potential talent like James Pierce. He ran a 4.4, guys. Like he's legit. He's as legit as they come as an athlete. So with that being said, that will wrap up our mock draft. Obviously, this is the first one of two. Our next one will be coming out next Tuesday. Now, obviously, this got a little wild at times. I will say, it got a little wild. We had some picks that was like, whoa, what the hell? And I love that, personally, because that will give the fans something to talk about, something to comment about, something to share the mock about even. So, really great stuff, guys. I appreciate you guys for joining me, as always. For you guys watching, you know what to do. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at MISportsMedia. Follow James at Gullet_James, Brad at BT8Ball, and myself at JSoSweet. And you can find us, all of our articles, at MISportsMedia.com. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.